Hey everyone, how you doing today?
Hey, doing great. How about you?
Well, really good, really good. So let's get into this, right? So let me ask you: do you think your IT company could be telling you everything that you need to desperately hear about cybersecurity? Do you think they could be holding back at all? Have they been having the hard conversation with you about the cybersecurity crisis that's plaguing businesses around the country? You got to ask yourself these questions, right? And they've got to be talking to you and having these conversations. You see, right now, there's a tsunami crime wave, cyber crime wave going on right now, and appears to have no end in sight. There's no ebb and flow. It's all coming at us right now, and it's hitting a lot of companies around the country. And if your IT company isn't having that hard conversation and telling you the secrets that you need to know, the true secrets of the things you got to know, your business looks just like that favorite store of my wife's that has a great big red target right by the front door. I think we all know the name of it. It's my wife's favorite store. Nevertheless, don't worry. Me and the Reboot crew are here to talk to you this week and tell you the secret truths today, right now. But before we get into that, this is the Reboot, and I'm Jim Gast, and me and the Reboot crew are here each week to help you evaluate important business decisions in the area of business, technology, cybersecurity, operations, HR, productivity, so on and so forth, and much more, right? Joining me today are these guys. Again, I'm Jim Gast.
And I'm Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
Brian Bratcher with B&L PC Solutions on Long Island in New York.
Stephanie Groot with WinStar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
David Luft with LDD Consulting in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Maybe we shouldn't be directing this conversation. We can't even get this video thing right. The truth is, anybody that watching today, one of the truths for us is it's backwards. I'm right now pointing to my left, which Mr. Groot is on the right. So it's all messed up. But there is no excuse for up and down, guys, right? I mean, it's pretty universal. So, we talked about this before the show today, and I just want to get some random objections to investing in cybersecurity technologies that you all have heard from your clients. So go. What's your favorite one?
My favorite. Yeah, we're too small, or they don't want us. It's not us they're going to attack. I hear about it on the news, but it's always bigger companies, all that kind of.
Bigger companies, right? Bigger companies.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Oh yeah. What goes along with that? I'll be fine without my data. I can afford. I don't need my data, right? Yeah. I don't need my data.
Well, I don't have any data.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not dealing with any of that. What are you talking about?
We don't have anything that anybody would want to steal, right?
Right.
Dave Luff, you got one?
Just the I'm too small is the biggest one that I tend to hear. Or they just don't want to spend the money on it right now.
I made a list, okay, because I'm just that guy, right?
You're a list guy.
I'm a list guy, all right? And so I can tell you that I hear these objections right here very often, all right? I mean, we talked about them. We're too small, okay? Mm-hmm. Not my business. It's not going to happen to me. We've got nothing to steal. We talked about that. We can afford to be down for a few days as long as we have our email, right? We have backup. We have insurance. Oh, wow, that's a great one. And then, of course, the one everybody likes to talk about in our group, the FDIC. We have FDIC to cover our bank accounts, And why do I bring up these objections? Because, the truth is the explanation behind these objections. You see, these objections are just nobody wants to spend money on more technology that's not fun or not going to make us more money, right? No one does. And we have all kinds of objections for them. But if your IT company is not talking to you about your objections, why is your objection unfounded, right? It's not a valid explanation. And maybe somebody can say, yeah, this is valid for us. That's fine. But if they're not having those hard conversations with you and telling you the truth about these, okay, then yeah, they're just not doing their job. Okay. So here's what I'd like to do. Let's walk through some of these. Let's talk about why people think this, and then let's talk about the truths of them. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the first two together. We're too small, not my biz. Anybody want to help me clarify what the truth is about that misconception?
So, if I may, a couple things about that misconception is it's a conception on a lot of people's part that hackers are a specific purposed attack, right? Like they're coming at you for a reason. They've identified you. You're the target. Now they're coming. But the problem is it's not that. It's a spray can, and what they're doing is they're kind of just throwing scripts out there and trying to see who they can get to respond back, and then that's the people that they go after. And they're going to the dark web. They're buying these attacks on the dark web, pre-written. Guys who don't know what they're doing, like don't have an impression that you're that important that they're looking at you and saying, nah, we don't want to mess with that guy. Because trust me, they do. They want to take it all away.
I think on that, the issue, it's kind of like a phishing email where it's really cheap for them to just attack a bunch. But the problem is that people only see on the news the big attacks. Right. And those are usually the focused attacks, like spear phishing, where they're really going for the government. And that's why people get that in their head, that they're not going to attack me because I'm not as big as the government. But just exactly like David said, they're just out there with a spray can, just looking for open doors. And at the end of the day, the IP address you have on your network that's public facing is the same size as the one your major hospital probably has in your city. And they don't know who's behind that IP address. They're just looking for open doors.
Well, and on top of that, it's not even how small you are as a company. It's like you are part of a supply chain, whatever that supply chain happens to be. So if you're a small architecture firm, then you're dealing with, construction companies, and you're dealing with builders, and, but those are people who could be affected through you, right? Like, so those are relationships that you have. If you get compromised, now they're coming after those other companies, and your clients, your partners, your vendors are being attacked because your security was not where it needed to be. A lot of what we see in these days in these breaches and attacks is supply chain related.
Mm-hmm. We actually had a bank who got a email from a car dealership who had gotten hacked, and that car dealership was trying to get him to transfer money.
Yeah. One of the things I like to say to people is that in any of these objections, do you care about your clients? Do you care about your customers? Right? Because what can and will happen many times is they'll hit you. Maybe they'll do nothing with you, or they will. Right. Okay. But they also look at your vectors for relationships that they can steal money from as well. And then they exploit those in addition to potentially exploiting you, or maybe you don't even know it.
It's like the old shampoo commercial, and they told two friends, and they told two friends, and they told two friends. And the next thing you know, off you go. Everybody's being infected off of one breach.
What's the shampoo thing you're talking about?
Yeah, well, let's not go down that road. We got a couple of Mr. Cleans in the audience here.
So the other common misconception, is that people think they got backups, right, and they're going to be okay. The average restore time for a breach with a ransomware attack with backups in place is 12 days down, business days. So that's if you have the protections in place. If you don't have the protections in place, my gosh, you could be looking at 6 weeks or longer and maybe not ever coming back. So, I mean, if 12 days of being out of business is okay with you, then I suppose you could say I got backups, right? But I'm not sure that's where it starts and stops anymore. Like if they take my data and exfiltrate it and now they're posting it on the internet, what difference does it make if I can restore it?
Yeah. And what I think happens here too is it depends on the relationship you have with your vendor, because if you're not in constant talks with them, if you're just going there once a year, once every 2 years with a folder of stuff, their gut reaction is going to be that I'm too small. Because there's a monetary value attached to it. They don't even know what it is. They may have no idea. But that's just a defensive, because this guy's coming here to sell me something. We send out emails weekly on the topics and subjects, so it's an open conversation. And when it's time, I was somewhere yesterday, and we just onboarded one of our products. They knew, they're aware. They're like, yeah, we're ready for that, So
look, when your IT provider is performing their quarterly reviews with you, right? If they're not talking about how to improve your maturity and your security posture, it means one of several things. Either A, they're not qualified and they don't know what they're talking about, so they think there's no risk as well. Or B, they're beaten down because they continue to have people tell them they don't want to spend any more money, so they've gone ahead and just accepted the fact that the world's going to go ahead and be breached and it's not a big deal anyway. Or C, like they don't have a good enough relationship with you, or you don't trust them well enough to let them tell you what is really going to be beneficial to your business, whether you want to hear it or not.
Yeah.
That is the one key value you need to get with your IT person. If you cannot have transparent, truthful conversations with the people who make decisions in your organization and your IT department, you're dead in the water.
You got it. You got it. How can you take anything else? And so I want to add, so we're transparent here. All of us are managed service providers that provide cybersecurity services and protection services for our customers. At least that, right? Now, the fact that we do this show is evidence enough, right? The fact that we all do blog posting, the social media posts, email blasts, and so on and so forth, plus add on the quarterly meetings, right? That's the kind of thing that you should be looking for from a provider. Are they proactive, right? Are they trying to get the word out to me and everyone else? All right. It's crucial. It's critical, right? Don't you guys think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I want to add this. Let me add this before.
Please. Go ahead.
I will tell somebody when I sit down in front of them, I'm going to try to sell you something. I'm going to try to sell you something. I'm going to be honest with you. The whole goal of what I'm doing right now potentially could be to sell you something. I don't care if you buy it or not. It doesn't matter to me if you buy it or not. What does matter is that I told you that you should do this. That's the most important thing. That's candid, right? That's honesty. And it's appreciated. And so, you know what? It's not in the budget. Okay, not a problem. It's your checkbook.
I think a lot of times, though, it's just like an alarm system. People wait till they get broken into to get an alarm system.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, look, guys, in the industry, the joke used to be for a long time, right? What is a backup? It's something you do after you crash, right? Like, nobody backed up, their systems crashing. Now they're backing up, right? Like, oh my gosh, I lost everything and I figured it out. Okay.
Yeah.
We screamed forever, back up, back up, back up, back up. Nobody did it. And guess what? You lost your stuff. And, life is moving on. So here's the one thing I would say is the biggest piece of advice that a business owner needs to take away from this conversation.
Truth coming here.
This is a truth. If you are not in the mindset that you are at risk and that you don't need to have a better security posture, at the very least, sit down with your IT provider and have them help you write out your incident response plan. Because when you get breached, you're going to need to know what to do. And I promise you that day is coming. It's coming. Yeah. Big or small. I don't know if it's going to be a devastating breach or if it's going to be a person who tries to quit work and delete a bunch of files. But those are all considered breaches. And I'm telling you, as a business owner, you will face an issue inside of the time that you own that business that can be resolved or taken care of through this incident response plan. And the time to do it is not when the breach has occurred.
Now, David, don't bust a blood vessel right now.
No, I'm not. I'm good. I'm all cool, man. Blood pressure. I got the machine right here, Jim, because you keep telling me. No, I mean, guys, I
He's
really,
right. He's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay. And you're emphatic about it. And we love that about you. But no, let's talk about this. Backups, right? Have you heard of hackers hitting backups before they do their dastardly deeds?
Big time.
Big time. So the argument, we have backup. The truth is, it doesn't matter. In many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, it does not matter. And that is a truth. Okay. And I mean, let's talk about this. Let's take the big elephant in the room. If all this is true, why take any securities at all, guys and gals? If all this is true, why? Why do we bother?
Because you want to have your business tomorrow.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Because you can minimize the risk. You can.
Yeah. There's
right?
different flavors of attacks, right? Different flavors of attacks, different flavors of attackers too, right? There's the run-of-the-mill, street criminal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the cat burglar, right? And then there's the white collar crime, right? There's different kinds of them, and so let's kind of break these apart. The street criminal is the person that's just opportunistic. Would you guys agree? And gals? Sorry, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're looking for the low-hanging fruit. They're looking for the business that doesn't have a firewall. Right?
To start.
Yeah.
Doesn't have spam.
Or has a poorly configured firewall.
Right.
Okay. Doesn't have spam prevention software or email security software, right?
Right. Or they haven't patched a vulnerability.
They're looking for the low-hanging fruits. What I like to call the cybersecurity baseline stuff, right?
Right.
And so why do it? Well, because there's different levels of different types of attack. Yes, the Department of Defense was hacked. The IRS was hacked. Those groups might not be looking for your business. They might be. But, even the low-end street criminal is getting more and more sophisticated. Why are they getting more sophisticated? They buy the stuff on the dark web, like you said, guys. All agree?
You don't need to know how to hack anymore. You just go buy the program right off the shelf.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the one that hit everybody, the group, Revel, whatever they want to be called.
Are evil.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. They weren't really the hackers, were they, guys? They got blamed for it, right? But they weren't really the hackers.
They were the ones who wrote the original package.
They wrote the package and then sold the package to a bunch of other organizations.
Yep.
Right.
And so, it's almost like, hey, our hacking software isn't working. You need to call the support line, and they're like,
well, they literally have a support line.
I know.
Listen, guys, the dark web, the hacking. I know we know all these stats, but I mean, it's the 4th largest economy on the planet, guys. I mean, there's United States, Russia, China, and the dark web. How much more do you need to say? Yeah. Well, I think California's actually 3rd. So maybe Russia's not in there or something.
Right,
I'm not sure.
I heard the dark web was like the 2nd largest economy.
4th is what I understand. But okay, we'll split hairs. We'll say it's 3rd.
There you go.
It's a big economy. That's the point. These guys have office buildings. I mean, we're talking buildings, many floors with cubicles and call centers. And they're running a business, guys, for profit.
What do you got, Stephanie?
Well, I was going to say kind of like Ocean's 11 and those kind of the heist is like, when you get a payoff, then you can take that money and then go up the next level. So, people mainly think of slums and all low life, whatever it is. These are, like you say, sophisticated criminals that live high class lives. Some of them do, that can pull this off. And they're sitting actually in first class with you on planes and capturing shoulder surfing, all kinds of ways that you can collect information, but it can happen that way as well too.
Yeah, they're just set up in countries that don't have extradition.
So I don't want to go too long today. I mean, and we always talk about 20 minutes, but I don't mind going over because these are valuable topics for people. Let's talk about these two, and then I want to move into another segment. We have insurance. Anybody want to thwart that one?
It's getting harder and harder to get
and keep,
and then having them actually pay a claim is follow the checklist.
When a client needs or is trying to get an insurance policy and there's a whole form or questionnaire that has to be filled out, who do they call? They're calling us.
Yeah.
Can you fill this out for me? And I look at it. I say, we can fill it out. And if we fill it out as
it's going to be a bunch of no.
You're not getting the insurance.
I'm always surprised at how many customers I talk to or potential customers, and I ask them, "Do you have cybersecurity insurance?" Yes. And have you gone through the checklist? And they're like, "What checklist?" Yeah. Thinking that they just paid out. And then I tell them it's like driving a car. If you don't have a license and you're drunk and you're doing all these other things,
and you don't have your seatbelt on, and
they're not going to pay the claim. They're insurance companies. They're looking ways not to pay the claim. You better make sure that checklist is done.
And on
I would even go so far as to say sometimes the cyber liability policy that they think they have doesn't cover what they think it covers. So the truth of a cyber liability insurance, have it reviewed by a lawyer who understands this. My former partner, Dave Myers, who works at Buckingham in Cleveland, that's the guy to go to if you ask me. All right, another one. The FDIC, money stolen out of our bank account. The credit card company will cover us, so the FDIC will cover us. Anybody want to grab that one? Not the phone. FDIC will cover us. Business account.
If nobody else is going to talk, then I will. But
go.
Well, I mean, look, the wire transfer fraud kind of stuff is not covered by the FDIC. So, like that's about the bank going under. Right. That's what the federal insurance program is about. If the bank doesn't handle the money responsibly and they go under, then your deposits are insured by the federal government.
Only up to a certain amount, too.
Only up to a certain amount. And that's not even in all banks, not the case anymore. Like, you have to pay attention to that because I'm not even sure all of them are FDIC insured any longer. Maybe I'm wrong about that, so don't quote me. But, the bottom line is, well, with the wire
merging going on right now, too.
Consolidation,
yeah.
But with all that, when you have wire fraud and that kind of stuff, the money's out of the country, right? Like, it's gone in seconds, and so there is no getting it back, and the bank isn't going to eat
and
that.
It's gone.
That's right.
And if you ACH or use a credit card, it's your bank and the credit card company. If they refund you anything, they're taking that loss potentially somehow, right? They're only going to do that so much. And so I've seen them say, no, it's you're lost. Too bad. So sad. I'm sorry. All right. So let's talk about the truth of what happens if you don't pay attention to all these things, right? The secrets, loss of reputation. Do you think a hack on your company that your data was breached and stolen and held for ransom and said, if you don't pay the ransom, we're going to release this data and you can't afford the ransom? And you don't pay it, but you try to start all over? Do you think it's going to make your customers happy if they find out their private information was shared on the dark web or even on the web for that matter? So does anybody see reputation as a big problem here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Reputation.
Why didn't you answer my email for 5 days? Right.
The first thing that's going to come out is when it does come out that they did get hit, how they got hit. And when it's like the oil pipeline in the Gulf Coast, that it was a $40,000 part that ended up costing billions and trillions of dollars. And the oil went crazy for 20 some days. And if they would have just bought that part, and so if you just buy that service, then you can stop that. But it'll come out how they did it, what they could have prevented to do. That's how others are going to learn, is how to prevent it. And unfortunately, you will be the case. You'll be the one that
be the example.
You'll be embarrassed, is what you'll be, and that's just that simple. Our clients, all of our clients trust us to take care of the data that we hold in our custody, right? And as a business, we have a responsibility of that. Now, what a lot of people don't talk about is if they hit you once, they often hit you more than once. A lot of people don't realize that. Once they can get you to pay a small amount, they know they can get you to pay a small amount multiple times, and usually a small amount grows.
But on top of that, the statistic is also that they say somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% of the payments are not even reported, right? So small businesses that are getting breached and forced to pay a ransom are just paying it because they don't want to go through the embarrassment of publicly notifying. But that has implications in and of itself in a legal way, because of breach notification laws and because of the fact that they can start to consider you supporting terrorism if you're paying a ransom fine using a Bitcoin non-traceable currency. So it's a really kind of a crazy, quandrum that people are faced with, but that's just really the truth of it.
So if your information is hit and it is exfiltrated from your network, and your data is locked and encrypted so you can't get it, and they have a hold of your data, at that point, you've been breached. We all agree to that. That is a simple thing, right? What a lot of organizations and businesses don't realize is that regulatory agencies, compliance agencies, heck, the attorney general in most states have ordinance that say you have to do notification to every one of those people that have had data stolen out of your custody. Can you imagine? Some cyber liability insurance providers cover that, some don't. But it's a law in many states that you have to give notification if they're personal
notification, but you also got to pay for credit monitoring
and credit monitoring
for a year,
in some states too. Yeah.
Yep.
So that is a truth, right? That's a secret. Your IT guy's not telling you that secret. That's another. All right. And so let's talk about this last one. There's two parts to this. Okay. What do you guys feel? What do we all feel? I got it. What do we all feel is the number one vulnerability in our organizations today, in our customers, in our audiences, organizations today? Go.
Email.
People.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, one and the same, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody disagree?
No.
Without a doubt. People. Why?
I mean, the list goes on, but like, the majority of breaches start with a phishing email and somebody clicking on a link or opening an attachment. But if you take it a step further, the way that software is written in general makes it so that a user who doesn't necessarily have administrative privileges is still running inside of their Windows operating system quite a bit of things as system. And if a hacker can obtain one of those accounts or services, they can then take administrative control and they can do whatever they want, even if that person is not an administrator.
You got it. Final question. Sorry to cut you off, Dave. We got to get.
No, that's fine.
Final question. Are some of your customers' passwords available for purchase on the dark web?
Sure.
We see it all the time. We monitor.
And is that not a secret that that our IT companies should be telling our viewers and our customers?
It is. And it's strange because a lot of times people don't see that as any kind of scary thing.
Yeah, I've sat down and shown to a prospect a list of their passwords for it doesn't matter the staff, but from the C-level executive to the staffer, and they're like, oh yeah, that's they're old. Well, it could be old passwords or whatever it is. It's like you realize though that and what was done since then. It's like it wasn't changed because of something like this, right? They didn't even know about it, and then there's the question of, well, how did you get that? And I'm like, I'm just a messenger. This stuff is already sold.
If I can go buy it, if I can go find it, imagine somebody that does this for a living, which is not me, the hacker, right? Imagine what they can dig up.
Yeah.
So I just want to, bust the myth. Most people use the same password over and over again for the same website. And that's not the myth. The myth is they do that because they think it makes things easier. But the problem is when one of those sites gets compromised, and then you have to go remember every site that you used that password at to change the password at every site. That's where it becomes not easy anymore, and it's not working for you. So use a different password for every site. That way, if Netflix gets breached, you got to change one password.
That's it.
And not just a small variation of your common password.
Correct.
A completely different one.
Right.
All right, I'm going to end it on this. By the way, that comment making it easy, it also makes it easy for the hackers too.
That's right.
Not kid ourselves. All right, guys, remember we are on every week now, back to our 1:30 time slot Eastern time. Every Wednesday, 1:30 Eastern time. Looking forward to seeing you again. If you liked the show today, if you found some information, make a comment, do a like, do a subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate it. Everyone, great show. Thanks a lot for all the information.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.